Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Hello, good afternoon, our viewers. Good afternoon, happy Sunday, and welcome to your program, your darling Christian talk show, Issues in Christendom. And we're coming to you live on Western Spring Television, channel 190 on Star Times. I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi. Follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. And also, you can also follow us on watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. This afternoon, we want to interrogate the issues around firstborn syndrome. There are school of thoughts that in some cycles in Christendom that says that firstborn, both in scriptures and also in life, don't do well, and that leads to having so many prayer meetings around firstborn, praying for them to be able to do well in life. Taking examples in Bible, looking at the family of Abraham. The firstborn of Abraham was Ishmael. Isaac did better. The firstborn of Isaac was also Esau. We saw how his life also went. And then down the line, like there, you see many firstborn who did not do well. But the good part is that Jesus, as firstborn, excelled, did excellently well. So today we want to look at these issues around firstborn. What could be the myths and the realities around firstborn? So having this discussion this afternoon, I have in the studio servants of God that will do justice to this topic. To my right here, I have Dr. Pastor Adeoye Oyewole. Good afternoon, Doc, and welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, viewers at home. You are welcome to this program, Issues in Christendom. You're welcome.
Awesome. To my extreme right, I have Dr. Femi Adefila. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Pastor. Good afternoon, viewers at home. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you again on a Sunday afternoon like this.
It's awesome. Let me start with Dr. Adefila. What's your take on firstborn, and what are the challenges that firstborn face, and why is it that this notion of firstborn have struggles in life? So let me hear, Dr. Adefila, your take on this.
Thank you very much. There are myths, there are realities around firstborn,
Okay.
and depends on which side of the divide that you belong to. If you want to see it from the negative perspective, you can cite the example of the firstborn of Abraham, who is the father of faith, Ishmael. You can't compare his level of success to that of Isaac. And if you want to look at the children of Isaac, between Esau and Jacob, you can't liken the successes, the covenant upon Jacob, with that of Esau. But if you dig deep in the Bible, you can almost deduce reasons why Jacob had to take the lead over and above Esau. Then if you look at the life of David, his first son too did not really fly high. Those are the negative perspectives. And those are valid examples in the Bible. There are also valid examples of successful firstborn. Our Lord Jesus Christ was a firstborn, and he did so very well. John the Baptist was the firstborn.
And the only one.
And the only one. And the parents wait for a very long time before they had him. They did excellently well. That is talking from the Bible. But fearmongers, we always find it more comfortable and convenient for their narratives to look at the lives of Esau, the lives of Ishmael, Reuben as examples to instill fears in you and to galvanize the fears that they need for their narrative. But it depends on which side, which story will you believe. Will you believe the story of Esau, or you believe the story of Jesus? Will you believe the story of Ishmael, or you believe the story of John the Baptist?
That's right.
I choose to believe the story of John the Baptist and the story of our Lord Jesus Christ. That is on the spiritual aspect. If you come to the secular space, I know there are issues and there are concerns about firstborns, and they are valid concerns. But we should subject it to practical analysis. We should see it as data and not interrogate it from the pragmatic perspective and not spiritualize it. A first child is a man that is under enormous pressure. Every parent wants the firstborn to live their dreams. Your dreams unfulfilled, you want it fulfilled in the life of your dream. Or be a medical doctor like my dear brother sitting down here. He's lucky he has 3 children who are studying medicine out of their own volition. But some other parents will have forced it down the throat of their children. You must be a medical doctor. Without taking into cognizance the peculiarity of those children and their own path in destiny. I think expectations are always very high. You want our firstborn to be a trendsetter, a pace setter, want them to be a role model, want them to be an example, and you are putting a lot of pressures upon them. There are huge expectations, and you put responsibilities on their shoulders that may be too heavy for their fragile shoulder to bear and to carry. So they may cave in the process in life and meet their path in destiny. But, and again, a firstborn has the tendency to have entitlement spirit. To be entitled by virtue of, when the news, when I got married, and my wife announced that she was pregnant, I was excited. I was thrilled. I rushed back to supermarket, bought her favorite chocolate, bought all manner of ice cream, and I was expectant of the arrival of my baby. And when she came, I was happy that I've duplicated myself. I've fulfilled one of the purposes of a man on earth, and I was doting on her, showered her so much love. As I did that, my parents came. Our parents came. So she was subject of love. She was the confluence of love flowing from everywhere. That may give a child a sense of false security and entitlement. If she grows up like that, without you cautioning her, without you telling her, hey, this is not how life is. I'm preparing you for the way I will not prepare the way for you. Don't assume that it will always be like this. The life out there is not as smooth as life in air. And that what you are seeing, I tell my children often, their privileges are not right. Don't see anything in life as your right. They are privileges that you are enjoying. It's not your right. So until you start to interrogate such things and speak along that line, you may have firstborns that will now be stunted in their growth process by virtue of nature and nurture. And that's my take on that.
Wow, this is taking it from the spiritual, the biblical, and also to the psychological studies, and then putting everything together to analyze the myths and the realities around the firstborn. Let's hear from Dr. Oyewale.
Yeah, just like my chairman has spoken. I think some of the issues we've been discussing of late should be a challenge to our Christian leaders, with due respect, that we may need to move from the realm of myth to confronting realities. Our children are tired. They don't want to go to church with us. Even when they go grudgingly, because we are not interrogating, we are not engaging issues with our faith. And if you don't, the children don't like it. We talked about Ember Month. I imagine a young guy following his mom to one of those places to play on Ember Month. You just look, mommy is just disturbing me.
And you need to hear the content of the prayers.
And when they are saying it, the young man, without being rebellious, not that because he has evil spirit, he said some of these things is just fear that is wrong with mommy, and that possibly she has not even sat down, or daddy, he has not sat down, or he has not sat down to really interrogate why some of these things happen. So the challenge of our modern faith, Pastor, is our capacity to bring our faith to bear on contemporary issues in an intelligent manner. Because there's spiritual intelligence. And this is what we are discussing. Last week we were discussing
Embalments.
Now we're talking of firstborn. Somebody will gather people with firstborn and say they should come for one special prayer, that they are not bound to be successful. The truth is that not all firstborns are failures. What we have failed to interrogate is that let's look at the data. Like I said last week, the data shows that at times our firstborns don't do well as the subsequent bonds for some valid reasons of which the chairman has spoken about.
Yeah.
Most of us as parents, when we're having children for the firstborn, we are uneducated.
Inexperienced.
We are inexperienced, illiterate parents. We've not gathered any experience. So we don't know how. Some of us choke our children, the firstborn especially. And like I mentioned at the radio program, that I know that traditionally, when some of the stories my daddy told me why he went to school was that his older brother, their father didn't want to release him to the missionaries because he saw him as a sacred child, the symbol of his authority, the moral symbol of his strength. And it was just like he told us about
the symbol of his continuity.
Continuity. What do I give you to a foreign white man?
I don't care what happens to the one subsequent after it, but this is my first fruit, and so much passion and emotion on him. And I will just bequeath him to a strange person coming with a strange belief.
That I don't know where it's going to end. I know my own, where it's going to end.
Let me tell you the story of my mom. My mom, out of the children of our father, a lot of them, was the only one, out of the very first 10, I was not sent to school. And it was out of love, out of wickedness. The father said, because she was delayed in her mother's womb, he consulted Ifa Oreku, that's what he told us, and they told him that this one should not marry outside the four walls of Ora. He should live within Ora. And he interpreted it that if she went to school, the tendency
another person out there
to pot out of Ora, marry someone strange, was that. So that was why I said, you will not go to school.
Wow.
You will inherit my textile trade out of love. And that gave my mom some limitations. Other siblings had, they had education up to university level.
I think she has a younger sister who was a commissioner.
She had younger sisters who were commissioners. And she had a commissioner, a British trained nurse, principal of school.
Wow.
So many successful people. But thank God she was successful in her own right because she was successful in trade. She traded. She was a known, but what I'm saying is this, she was denied that because she was the very first child.
So being firstborn, oftentimes, because we are limited, and it's universal, it's documented, that parents, firstborns are not, the parents are not experienced. Like you use the word rat lab or lab rat. They are experimental, guinea pigs. People are not sure which method they will use. We parent from the premise of fear. We don't want to fail, and then we want to choke. And I gave the example of when the first day my son went to primary school. Is it nursery school? They call it now. I went to drop in the morning. My wife went there, I think an hour, 2 hours
to check up on him.
To check. After 4 hours, I went. So we gathered the two of us together for counseling.
So you guys, you need to be spoken to.
All the things they were telling us, I didn't hear anything. But I also needed to just.
But you were just expressing love.
Exactly.
Love, the excess love you had for your first child now manifested in about fear and concern. Will these people be able to represent me adequately well? I doubt whether you did that concerning other siblings.
No. We went through all of that. We got cancelled, and then
you even got busier.
We got
exactly got busier.
You got busier.
Yeah.
And your eyes were off that.
But I got busier.
And you had tried. And you have tested the waters with your firstborn. So you now trusted them that they will take care of the others.
You know, I remember when we had our firstborn too, my wife would say that this baby, is he still breathing?
At times.
The way this baby is sleeping. I said, no, baby is fine. I said, I'm just checking. Let's go to the hospital. I said,
Who need the?
Or that you want to wake the baby up.
That was one night she said we should go to the hospital like 1 a.m. I said, for what? He said, the way this baby is behaving, he's doing like this, like he wants to go. I said, go where? Now, the other ones. No problem.
Because at that point, Madam was inexperienced.
Exactly.
She was agreeing on, and those things impacted on how she interpreted things happening around her first child. And let me say, the bottom line was love.
That's
Undiluted love.
Love.
Pure love.
But uneducated love.
That's right. She didn't want it. That's the word. Unintelligent love. That's what I'm saying. Unintelligent love. She couldn't. Unintelligent love, because she couldn't decipher some things.
Exactly.
And she wanted a child. She couldn't imagine that child going nowhere.
Exactly.
So
inexperience.
Apart from that, too, they also indulged. Like he said, firstborns have up to 50 names. Trailer load of names.
Yeah.
Number 3, they are oftentimes indulged. Grandparents have been waiting for the birth of their grandchild. Uncles from here and there. And they come and see when they are doing their first year birthday.
Oh my goodness.
When they are doing birthday,
everybody's there.
the kind of dresses, shoes they bring.
Everybody's
Nobody
there.
does that for the third born or the fourth born.
So, Wale, I even heard about this last week, where this boy in America, the little boy, wants to start school and requested that grandma must fly from Nigeria to come and escort him to school.
You are seeing what you are
You
talking
can imagine. They flew grandma from
All the
Nigeria
way.
all the
That's
way
what
to
he
America
That was his request.
to witness. That was his request. Firstborn.
And you know the problem with the father is that for this boy to say grandma, beyond just mere request, he may be looking in terms of generational terms. That could it be there's a spirit that wants to protect him.
That's right.
That is only the grandma that, you know, we are from Africa.
Exactly.
Which is what some people are now exploiting in the spiritual realm to now talk about firstborn syndrome. So for me, I think the firstborn is in a precarious situation.
That's right.
He's made to look like a leader. He must not fail. He shouldn't misbehave. Number 2, he doesn't have adequate parenting experience. Those people handling him. Number 3, there are many stakeholders. Too many stakeholders that could get him to be confused. And so the stage is set for them not to, at times, if care is not taken, not to do well as much as the younger ones.
And at times there are complications in our expectations from them.
That's right.
You want the firstborn to be a leader, to be assertive, to be mature, to lead from the front, to show the way, to be a role model,
That's right.
to be a trendsetter.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you are not given the latitude to explore. You are dictating rules and regulations. You are guiding him. You are overprotecting him.
That's right.
You are over-pampering him.
That's right.
That is huge complications.
That's huge.
From the same mind.
What the
So
contrast.
if you go to we need emotional intelligence to raise our first child. With the benefit of the hindsight, I have to apologize to my first child because she texted the waters herself in so many instances. She tested the waters herself. But her siblings coming after her, because she was our guinea pig, our lab rat, we learned lessons from her growing up. And that was what we had used to taking decisions from the ones coming after her. But it can be complicated for the firstborn. Psychologically, it can impact negatively on them.
That's right.
Because they won't get the right message. Am I supposed to evolve on my own? Or supposed to under the tutelage of my father?
Yeah.
Why am I tied to my mom's apron string? Why is my mommy checking up on me and dictating the rules? I don't do that.
Exactly.
And still want me to be a leader. You want me to be your replica. And you, well, at the same time, you want me to be better than you.
And you're not
Those are
allowing me to be
complications.
me.
You're not to be me. Those are complications.
So some can become rebellious.
Become very rebellious.
You know, before we came on air, I was asking 1 or 2 guys around, are you first? Are you firstborn? The first guy said to me that I'm firstborn. That it is stressful being firstborn, particularly when daddy is not there. That's what the guy said. So, what he's saying is that he became daddy because daddy is not there. At the same time, don't have the capacity to be daddy. So it is stressful for
In fact,
him.
this firstborn thing we're talking about may be very common now. May explain the reason why we're having a lot of yahoo, these drug boys. If you sit them down, some of them are products of single parentage.
Dysfunctional family.
Dysfunctional families. And when it gets dysfunctional, mothers have ways of using them as surrogates.
That's right. That's what the guy is saying.
Say, or call me. So the pressure,
Emotionally.
the young boy who has not even discovered himself now becomes to act like a husband. Apart from not just sleeping with the mother.
Exactly,
He stepped into a shoe that is bigger than
He
his
will be
face.
fixing financial things. Be canceling the mother. At times the mother will break down in the middle of the night and cry. Your father has killed me. See where I put me. I didn't know he would run away like this. The man is making my life.
That's another thing. I think women most often than not, they out of emotional pressure themselves, they engage their firstborns and speak some words to them that they were not matured to interpret.
That's true.
That's the truth.
And he holds them down.
And to process those words. Because their minds are too young for kind of conversations that they get from their parents.
Absolutely.
So they can't, you see, in intelligence, we say you get information, you process it to intelligence. They don't have the mental capacity and the emotional intelligence to process those information into intelligence and interpret it well. So it's a lot of problems. So one needs to be empathic towards firstborn. And we need to be conscious of the fact that there's no spiritual cause on the firstborn. There's nothing like that. What we have on them is enormous pressures and expectations. We expect so much from them.
That's right.
To be highly successful, to be the flag bearer of the family, to be the burden bearer. When it's even too early for them to bear
Precautiously.
You know, I pastored a young man. I just remembered him now in South Africa. This guy, his father and mother had issues, so the marriage broke down. And then the two of them left the house. The man went with another woman, and the woman too went with another man.
And abandoned him.
He has abandoned these children. So this particular guy, who is my church member, he is a firstborn. As a teenager, he assumed the role of father and mother for his younger ones. He was doing very well in the university. He got to a point, he became stalked. Because the burden that he had to carry for his younger ones was just too much. Started crashing down academically. So Dr. Adefila is quite right about that.
And I've seen some firstborns that by virtue of the glory of the Lord upon them and sheer luck, they were able to interpret that role successfully.
Exactly.
They were imbued with emotional intelligence and became very successful.
Absolutely.
I met a friend of mine who told me that they lost their parents early in life and he was responsible for raising his other siblings, two of them, sent them to school. When he was in school, he was working at the same time. So he couldn't go to university. He went to the polytechnic and he was working sideways within school to pay for his siblings.
That's huge.
That's huge. So he's been responsible from day one. But that person lost his youthful years. There were no room for exuberances when he was young. He was responsible too early in life. So when you see people having middle age crisis, it's as a result of what you went through growing up. Because you can't, life comes in stages. If you jump one stage, you may make a recourse back to it.
Exactly.
At the appropriate time in life.
That's true.
So, firstborn, I know there are very unsuccessful firstborns. And you will now ask, why are they unsuccessful? But if you dig deep, is it that too much love, over pampering, tied to the impulse string of the parent? They didn't allow them to be, and yet you are expecting them to perform wonders.
You know, parents even at times project their failures on them. If I fail to become the doctor I want to be, my son must be a doctor.
That's right.
And he must be better than me. But what is playing out unconsciously is my own failure. I'm not taking responsibility for it again. I'm projecting it to my son or my daughter. So I put him under pressure. While others are celebrating their children. I don't celebrate my own, even though it's performing better than them.
Because she's not behaving exactly true to type.
Exactly.
Or what you want to
And
be.
my own
It's a
type, what I
standard.
want is me. It's not her, or it's not him.
There's a narrative from within you,
Yeah.
and you have drawn a map.
Yeah.
You have drawn a geographical expression. She must be within that. If she's not that, she's not successful.
That's
That's why
the
she
problem.
she has her own yardsticks. She has her own aspirations in life. I wanted my daughter, early in life, I think I asked my daughter once, "You like to be a medical doctor?" And she said, "No." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I don't like blood. When I go to see mommy in the hospital, and I don't like the father, going to the hospital, the stories I hear most often are stories of pains, despair, stories of people are brooding, people are not happy." So when I step into your space, in the broadcast life, everybody is happy.
It's bubbling,
it's
yeah.
lively, it's bubbling. That's how I want to live my life.
Wow.
I don't want to be, and I discovered that she's not as, she's a bit gregarious, she's a bit boisterous, she's not on the conservative side of life. So I said again, "Do you want to be?" No. I wanted to be a lawyer. Okay, let me support you. But most often than not, some people, and my wife was like, my wife is more emotionally intelligent than I am, I must confess. Because she can interpret issues better.
No, it's because she's a woman.
She's a woman. And she told me that she doesn't care whether she becomes a doctor or anything. She should be what she wants to be. But she should know that she wants to be a professional. And we should not box her into corner or box her into any frame or in a pigeonhole that is not in her interest. So, but most of them that not, most parents don't do that.
They don't.
They put their children in their own pigeonhole. They constructed even before they were born. Oh, my first son will be a lawyer. Oh, my first son must be a medical doctor. You don't do that. Then the influence of multiple parenting, your grandparent,
Yep.
your own mother, my mom, my child, apart from my mom coming to superintend over her, even my grandparents were interested in her.
Wow.
That is multiple layer of parenting. Myself, as the first instance,
Yeah.
then the secondary level,
Uh-huh.
my own parents,
Exactly.
then the tertiary level,
Grandma.
my grandma and my grandfather. So that is too much for a first child to bear. But they start to lose interest when the second one comes, when the third one comes, they allow them to be, they allow them to manifest.
This is absolutely true. So, on
And
this,
this may actually explain
exactly
the prayer point
the
of
prayer
the
points.
firstborn syndrome. Because this child that he's going through all of this may not do well in school, not because it's not endowed with intelligence, but the environment is not there, it's already choked. He may drop out of school and become a drug addict because he's also being violated. He's having his own psychological and emotional distress. And so he may get into wrong hands since he doesn't trust the parents again. The parents who are pushing him. He may not be able to achieve educational standards that the younger ones have achieved because of these factors. And then he can become a dropout in life compared to other children. In fact, there's one thing I also know. In those days when people are gaining scholarship abroad,
Okay.
it is the firstborn they take to the village to stay with the grandparents.
Yeah, you are right.
I was mentioning
You
that.
are right. You are right.
When they stay with the grandparents, they now give birth. You know, he's born in Nigeria. They now give birth to other children in America and Britain. And do you know the meaning of this British passport, American passport to
It's a
some
lot.
people? They will now come back home and go and harvest this boy
From the village
to stay with
to
this other
cohabit
children.
with this British
They are
born and American born children. No.
It doesn't
I have
match.
one-
The
I
English
have-
they are speaking,
I have one.
you can't even understand.
I have one very close to me, next to me.
Okay.
My auntie traveled abroad, had her first child here, and gave her first child to her twin sister to look after. And she lived in Lagos in Mushin with her mom, twin sister. Her twin sister, auntie went abroad and had 2 other sons. When they returned, they brought them together. They couldn't cohabit
They can't.
because this one was set in her ways. Those ones were set in our ways. And unfortunately, they were expecting a transformation 360 degrees centigrade.
It can't be.
It can't
be.
The Muslim boy will speak his own language. The boys brought up in Britain, they have the accent, they have their preferences,
very
the mindset,
they have social,
of
because he didn't grow up here.
Exactly.
And they see one man like this who is just struggling to speak correct English, and you are saying is my brother. How do you say that?
Are you sure we are brothers?
Thank you so much. We need to go on the short break right now. Wow, this is so enlightening, you know, about why the firstborn become
may not do well
compared to other children. It is not because there is a curse on them. It is in the nurture.
There's something wrong.
Our viewers, thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. We're going to go on a short break right now, and when we return, we will continue this discussion. Stay tuned, and God bless you.
This iconic African presents the narrative of a man destined to exert an imperishable global influence in Western education. His was a story of a freeborn, captured and sold into slavery. He was born in Oshogun, a native Yoruba village near Iseyin in Okeogun axis of southwest Nigeria. Samuel Ajayi Crowther was the foundation student of Fora Bay College, Sierra Leone, the foremost university where the pioneer set of native Africans were educated. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's greatest contribution to humanity was his translation of the Holy Bible into the Yoruba language. The man who authored the Yoruba dictionary was also credited with the translation of English classic hymns into Yoruba and the Ekwere languages. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's private residence in Badagry, incidentally, the first story building in Nigeria, is an Akava museum dedicated to the memory of Africa's first bishop. Western Spring Television identifies Samuel Ajayi Crowther as a watershed character in history. Born 16th September 1923, named Harry Lee Kwan and known as Lee Kuan Yew, he was often addressed by his initials of LKY. Lee Kuan Yew was a barrister and the first Prime Minister of Singapore between 1959 and 1990. Educated at Raffles Institution from 1936 to 1940 and the Fitzwilliam House between 1947 and 1949, Lee Kuan Yew established a highly effective and anti-corrupt governance system that midwifed the transformation of Singapore into a high net worth income economy within a generation. He never hid his exception to Western mode democratic ideal, which he believed had not assisted developing nations to attain good government. Before his death on 23rd March 2015, the People's Action Party, which he founded, had used its political influence to establish the United World College of Southeast Asia to expand his economic ideas among countries that constitute the Asian Tiger. Western Spring Television identifies Lee Kuan Yew as a major character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Ololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. the award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on the 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Fumilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history.
Hello viewers, welcome back from that short break. This is Issues in Christendom on Western Spring Television. We've been talking today about the firstborn syndrome, the myths and the realities, and what a beautiful discuss we've been having this afternoon. I'd like us to take it further. And
so just like we
Wale.
were saying before the break,
Okay.
that in our field, we call it psychodynamics. It means the events behind the scene. Why is it that this one out of 4 children is the one that is a low achiever? The parents are distinguished achievers, the other children are fantastic achievers. Why is it that this one person, most of the time, the firstborn? And like we're trying to look at the scenario, I've seen it in different clinical situations where this child is in the village, you go abroad, you now want to lump the children you gave birth to in America together with the one that grew up in Aura. There's going to be problems.
There are going to be issues.
And oftentimes they may escape into drugs. He will not do well in the academics. The parents, at times, if they are not careful, they want to put pressure on him and even use his younger ones as example. As example.
That's true.
Which
But
father
why are
was
you
his-
not like your younger ones? And that's killing.
He doesn't know how to
Rivalry.
use it. He doesn't know how to
Is that
use it. He
rivalry?
doesn't know how to use the toilet properly. He doesn't know how to operate some certain it's inferiority complex. And before you know it breaks down mentally.
Well, honestly, it can be very
It's a serious-
challenging and tasking.
Yeah.
And we also have good examples of firstborns that did so well.
Yeah.
A friend of ours, my wife's friend, our best lady when we got married, Funshola Adekomo. She's a medical doctor, a consultant. She read medicine in Ife. She was the firstborn of a family of 6 and highly successful. But you could see how vibrant, how boisterous, how determined, how she does things line by line, precept by
Very
precept,
independent-minded
very
and precise.
independent-minded, and she does things deliberately. That is a product of being a firstborn in an environment that managed it so well, because the parents were well educated. One a professor, the other one the bossa of Babylon University Ife. So it was a right environment, and they give her necessary support as a child. So there are successful.
That could also be a liability, though.
There are successful
in
firstborns.
marriage for women.
She has a very successful marriage. She's
Because
doing
you
so
see,
well.
she must have learned the rules,
yeah,
balanced.
yeah.
Because at times when women are firstborn,
That was why, sir, with due respect,
Okay.
that was why we said that a man is a product of nature and nurture. If both come together into play, it will assist you to grow.
Exactly.
But our nature, how she was born, the anatomy, am I right? And physiology.
yes.
Then nurture
psychology.
is about the environment.
yes, the
If you
environment, the
grow up in a
sociology.
very loving environment where you are told that you need security, you need you need your self-esteem, your
Esteem,
self-confidence,
that you are important.
and you are important
You
as a
have got
person.
something to contribute
That's
that
right.
is unique to
It
you.
may assist you to grow well. But when you are talked down at, they put you down all the time. You are not doing well. You should be doing this. It may be a real challenge, and that is the problem. And I think we must be aware of that. Oyewole does not like when I mention divine spark.
Divine spark, yes.
Divine
That is
spark
not nurtured by the
that is
Holy
not
Spirit.
nurtured. That's right. I know, understand.
It's ethical.
It has
an ethical dilemma.
It is the nurture that ignites the divine spark in the nature. So it's necessary. So if a child, and so you can now blossom. But if you are overprotected, you are over pampered, you are going to grow up having this entitlement psychology, that you believe you are entitled. I'm the first child in this environment. This belongs to me. I don't need to think. I don't need to work. Everybody must kowtow to me. The world is my footstool, and I'm just here to dominate. That is setting you on the path of perdition.
Okay. I'm looking at, is it possible, because within the family setting, the mothers are closer to the children than fathers. So I'm looking at firstborn as a boy and firstborn as a girl. Now, because the examples of the firstborn that Dr. Adefila brought up about this woman, firstborn, doing well. The mothers, there's a way they train their girls and pamper the boys.
Even today.
Does it not play out?
It does.
In why the firstborn male, when the father is not there to train and raise him, the over pampering of the mother.
When the father, that's another scenario. If the father was not there, that's another ballgame entirely. But if the father was there, that's another dynamic entirely. To balance it. That's right. If the father was there, you are going to see another product. Different from if the father were not there.
That's not there.
That's the truth.
But generally speaking, people who are married to firstborn females will have learned to be a little more patient.
Exactly.
And to actually understand them. That they don't mean harm when they use certain languages. Marriage is synergy. You come with your idea, I come with my own. You must be able to listen to mine. And I want to listen to yours.
Yeah.
Now, if you have been used to not being listened to, but to give instruction, in marriage, you have to listen to another person. So there may be initial struggles.
That's right.
With some who didn't get it well.
Iron sharpen it iron.
Yeah, because you can't be saying
It's a process.
You can order your children and your younger ones. You can't be ordering your husband.
And she may come from the environment where she was backing others as people.
Exactly. As a firstborn. When they say they are firstborn, they are that competent, like you described. At times, they have tendencies to want to railroad everybody.
Exactly.
And they don't mean any harm because they railroaded people.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't they railroad them?
Exactly.
Being domineering is one of the values, or should I say, it's one of the traits of a first child.
Absolutely.
That grew up in the right environment that builds his or her self-confidence and self-esteem.
On that.
Because they may actually injure his or her ego too, if nothing was done to build the self-esteem and self-confidence.
But culture at times exaggerates it.
Exaggerate what?
The firstborn thing to have an undue advantage at times over others through this reinforcement. Because you're a firstborn, when others are giving their roles to do, you are not doing it, and then you are now doing it, and then you are not saying because you are firstborn.
Supervisor.
You owe me, you take money from me, come and pay back.
Mommy.
You understand that kind of thing, and you begin to now take a role. They should be allowed to be challenged. I made sure that my children can challenge my firstborn. When they want to harass him too much, I step in. Not even because he's the firstborn, because it's not fair. But oftentimes in our culture, we evoke this firstborn. Is it not your firstborn? Okay, it's my firstborn, but he's not being responsible here. Do you understand? So at times when we say firstborn, it leads more to indulgence and to abuse of privilege that may invariably damage them.
Yes, I agree with you that the culture has a role to play in how we mold our firstborn. Culture plays a role in molding firstborn. In some setting, a royal family, the firstborn has the right of first refusal. If some titles come along the line of the lineage, they just say, okay, he's the first child. He has the right of first refusal. So if he refuses it, he can pass it down to some other people. So that is the entitlement thing that we are speaking about.
That may not help them.
That may not help them to manifest and to actually ignite
the leadership
they ought to be and the leadership that they ought to provide. Then I discovered that, like I said earlier on, they are over-pampered.
Oftentimes.
Over-shielded, then over-protected. When you overprotect your child, you are not helping that child. You are not helping that child. Let the child be. Let them be. Let them manifest. Let them make mistakes.
Yeah.
Let them learn from the
And
mistakes.
learn from it.
And let them grow.
Yeah.
But when you do virtually everything for them, you shield them, you protect them, and you, at their beck and call, you are sending a very wrong signal. He's going to become entitled. She's going to become entitled, and there's going to be a problem.
Okay, before we go, I want us to look at one of the young men I spoke with before we came on air. I said, as a firstborn male, would you like to marry a firstborn lady? He said, no. I said, why? He said, because I'm going to be responsible for 2 families. My own family as a firstborn, my wife's family, our own responsibility. I will have to take on those responsibilities. So there's that fear.
I think it's unfair to load your problems on the head of your firstborn. But that's what it is in our culture here. I think the practice is thinning out. A lot of these are our children. We are married, even when they are married, we are responsible for them. Is that not what happened? No, I don't think it's as strong as before.
It's not, but it's still very much there.
Still,
the expectations are there that your first. You see, if you don't know, there's a bond between you and your first son. I've seen you together, and you are expecting some things from him. There are expectations you have of your first son, and Yoruba will say, "Igi akose eni ato lafi ma npa." Your very first child uses that the foundation for your growth.
That's right.
If you go onto the farm to get firewood, the very first you get must be big, must be thick. Then you now lay it as a foundation. So what you bring subsequently, you will lay them together. So that is the mentality. That is the cultural belief that my first child must be my foundation.
Ordinarily, yes.
Ordinarily,
yeah. You know,
so it puts pressure on them.
I want us to speak to parents with high expectations on the firstborn that is not being met. How to respond to, because we've also seen cases of mothers, especially because this boy did not turn out the way she wanted. She got depressed. Her health deteriorates, and that could be the way she will exit this world. Because the firstborn, she wouldn't see the other children doing well. But this first one that is not doing as expected now has impact on her health.
I do, absolutely. I think, like from what we have gathered here, as parents, one of the points we have made is this: first-time parents are uneducated, they are illiterate. There's a need, but you don't think that you know it all. Ask for help. Reflect. Know that this child must be properly handled, and you don't have the requisite knowledge. Because I've read all the things in the world, you still need to be guided. Number 2, that firstborn have many factors that may, if they are not careful, so if you are a firstborn, that could railroad them into failure and into mediocrity, undue privileges, a lot of attention, entitlement can make you not to develop yourself. So if you are a firstborn, try and get out of that sense of entitlement. See yourself as a human being, as a member of the family. You owe yourself the responsibility of putting in your best to become the best. Stop leveraging on your father's property. You know, it's firstborn that keep fighting about property. The younger ones have learned to leave the old man and be fighting tenants up and down over money, and then you are not even doing well in your own life. So for me, parents need to also learn that a lot of this, rather than waste your time on some prayer meetings for 40 days and 40 nights, prayer is very important.
Prayer is
nurturing, but the product of that prayer in itself is even guidance and wisdom. You must listen to your spirit. You must analyze your firstborn. If your firstborn is not doing well, it doesn't mean it's the end. You may need to seek counsel. See your pastor. See professionals. There are counselors who can help analyze some of these issues in the life of your firstborn, where you have missed it, steps we need to take to redeem and reconstruct this man's life. For me, I think it's very important.
Then again, I want to say that you must cut them some slack. If your firstborn is not manifesting those values that you expected ab initio, please interrogate your expectations. Just approach it to the ability of the first child, so that you don't expect too much from them.
That's right.
We should not burden their life with too much expectations.
And make them
too much
omnipotent.
responsibility. They're not omnipotent. They're just
normal human being.
a child.
Who came first?
Who came first?
Like any
The
other
mistake he made was to come first.
And that's what we other people enjoy.
That's the mistake.
Thank God I didn't come first. So let me. That's why the younger ones keep rebelling.
So you should cut them some slacks.
Okay.
Sorry, and I want to say, with due respect, sir,
okay.
as it's important to pray for your firstborn, just as you pray for all the children. Just pray for them.
Okay.
Because sometimes in prayer meeting, we other ones, we were talking about Oluomo, God, please, my first son, my first seed, my first. And we also we other seed.
Okay.
We other seed.
It's culture.
Praise God. Wonderful time today. So, firstborn, you are blessed.
Yes.
It's not in your choice to come first. God just designed it that way. And whatever input that your parent put into your life, and you feel that you're not capable enough, you can go back to God. He will redeem and reconstruct your life, and then make you a worthy ambassador of the family.
Amen.
Our viewers, God bless you. Thank you for joining this conversation. I believe that you have been blessed, and firstborn have been helped, parents have been helped, particularly new parents who are not experienced. You can pick from the things that have been shared here, and then have a better,
and ask for help.
Ask for help and have better parenting success. The Lord bless us in Jesus' name. Until we come your way next week again, same time, 3 p.m. on the same station, Western Spring Television. God bless you. I am Pastor Steve Akewobi. Bye for now.
Are you ready to proclaim the victory?